Our parents worked not because they loved it, not because it was an expression. It was just something they had to do. Work is more iterative. Freelancing has come to stay. There will be bad sides. There are employees who take work from home as a day off. If you are hiring, it's spiritual. All organizations will have to be as dynamic as required. I think a critical conversation for the African talent is survival.
How do you mean?
The desperation to survive, I believe, is what is driving the African talents to lie to the employer. Trust will become the greatest issue going forward. There is a generation of people that have not entered an office like this before, and they graduated from university. To do more or to earn more, you can't be alone.
What's one thing that you think makes a winning team?
Stupidity.
Hello everyone, welcome to this conversation. Today we are back. I'm sure you could see we have a new set, and my first guest on this new set. Yes, yeah, my first guest.
Looks good.
Actually,
Looks
on
good.
this new set. Typically we use a different setup,
Okay.
but we are trying to change up the game and have more conversations that will help build enterprise.
Nice.
On this channel is actually called Venture Valley. And the whole idea is for us to see how we could syndicate conversations around building an enterprise. Basically, we found what makes TM, right? What is that ikigai for us really? And it's the intersection of enterprise, intersection of marketing, and there's also an intersection of passion.
Okay.
So we like to call ourselves the learning company. So what that means is that we love to learn and we love to syndicate conversations around learning, because at the end of the day, life is a game of who can think the best. You know, that's something that we believe in. So today we'll be exploring the future of work.
Cool.
Right now, the landscape is changing, but I think but first of all, let me introduce my guest. Let me not go into the conversation, right?
My name is Gbenga Totoyi.
Yeah. GT, can you introduce yourself? Let me not.
Okay. I find it hard to in recent times, but my name is just Gbenga Totoyi, to be honest. I have a background in economics. On my entry point into HR was learning. I just love to simplify complex things.
Okay.
And for me, that moment when I'm either in class or in a conversation and people go, "Oh, I get it." That light in the eyes of people is something that gives me such a high. And then over time, whilst in consulting, I went through the entire value chain and I saw how learning is connected with productivity and performance and growth and all of that. And so I dabbled into other areas of HR and consulting, and I came out into practice. Was involved in a few organizations like the Stock Exchange, Wema Bank, and had a foray into technology.
Technology.
Yeah. I headed incubation for CCO for a while.
Okay.
For a short while. And then came out, was part of L5 Labs and stuff. So I spent about a 4 or 5 year period with different startups, really just understanding the entire back end of technology, how VCs work, what sort of products they're looking for, and all of that. Did some work in Africa as well on project basis. I mean, as a consultant, you're almost available to travel anytime. But about 8 years ago, I felt what I do in HR will become a service I render than a job that I'm doing. And that was what made me start Island and Grants, what we call a people development company. And in 8 years, it's been some good work. So I don't like to use the word HR. I would rather people, because I think it's more encompassing. So I'm in the people business, basically. That's how I introduce myself.
All right. So looking at the conversation around people, what's something that you are observing in the current landscape that is exciting you or making you think or keeping you up at night?
Well, and that's an interesting thing. I'm either thinking about solving a client's problem or I'm thinking of innovating around a challenge that I am currently facing. And there are many angles to it. When I talk about the future of work and tie it to people, I would, up until about a quarter ago, I would have just mentioned 3 things that sort of anchors that conversation. And that would be the changes to what we see as work, what we see as the worker, and changes to the workplace.
Okay.
Those 3 things are critical to explaining the future of work. Changes that we are seeing to the definition of work.
Okay.
Changes we're seeing to who a worker is and the average workplace today. But there's a fourth dimension to it, and I'll come back to explain the three, which is the reality of the larger economy also influencing those three things. So these four things are happening at the same time, and I'll tell you why. So work used to be something we go to the office to do. Work used to be given to us as time spent doing something. But work is a lot now more projectized. Work is more iterative. Work is global. Freelancing has come to stay. I can wake up in my house in my PJs, turn on my laptop, and I'm working. I can have work given to me in any language around the world. Technology platforms has made it easier for me to, one, showcase my talents and capabilities globally, and have work given to me. Also because payment for work done can also now be global. So I get on Fiverr. I don't have to, for want of other words, be in Brazil. Someone in Brazil wants work done, and he or she finds talent or capabilities here. I can get on it and do it. That singular definition is a huge chunk of what has defined the world, future of work, which is now really now, not really in the future again. Two is the worker. The worker too has changed. More younger people in the workplace. I mean, the whole conversation around Gen Zs. I think people should wait for the alpha generation. They are crazier, right? They are faster, more nimble. They are technology natives. The whole conversation around being a nomad is also the worker wanting to travel, experience life, but work, right? Our parents worked not because they loved it, not because it was an expression. It was just something they had to do. It's just go work, right?
You do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do, pay the bills, and retire at a certain time. That was the way they were told. But the worker has changed. You and I guess you guys dress to work like this every day. There's probably no dress pattern or something, except maybe you're meeting a client or expecting a client is when you then say you dress a certain way. That was not so. And the reason why we have this influence in the workplace is because more and more workers brought their personality to what they do. We now see the work we do as an expression of our personality, right? Some would have argued that this was only for creatives and tech bros and tech Cs, right? But just look at the last 10 years and how you take banking, and then a standard chartered said you don't have to wear ties. Just do business casual and you're good. And then over time, other banks lost the ties, right? And a few other things started changing in those sectors. And then COVID came and accelerated everything. And well, we all couldn't return back to work in our suits, and because we now saw that one, work is available anywhere. I can get connected to the internet and I have my device.
Yeah.
The worker now has preferences. If you harass me too much, I'll resign and be at home and deploy my skill globally and perhaps earn more than I can or I was when you were tying me down to some 9 to 5, right? And then the workplace could not but change alongside, because we had the startup revolution, right? We had businesses that started in people's heads and became billion-dollar companies. And so you can't tell me that is not an organization. I mean, 3-4 of the biggest companies in the world by valuation are tech companies: Google, Apple, Facebook, and tech companies that are now really, really global companies, again, influencing life, influencing taste, influencing expectations. Those three things began to happen at the same time. And like I said, conversations in the larger economy. So you can't tell me not to travel abroad or desire to relocate if my skill is better valued outside. If I see that 3 years of work, any work in Canada and co, will give me what 10 years of work here would give me, all of a sudden we have to have a conversation. Because the conversation around the economic reality is now influencing my choice of career, which is why it was strange for people to understand why a senior manager in a bank would say, for the sake of my kids and my future, I'm 45, but I don't have a house, I don't have this. He's considering his economic realities and choosing to dump all that and go do some odd job anywhere for 5 years, 10 years, that he can then, and guess what? Is it not funny that we sell our houses here to go abroad, and when we make the monies abroad, we send the monies back to buy the houses here?
Yeah.
So you're seeing economic realities influencing the work we do, the kind of workers that we are, and the kind of workplaces that we are, or the kind of organizations that we're working. So these 4 things for me happening at the same time is what is influencing changes to the world of work. And I think we're going to struggle more, not just with the changes, but the pace of the change. We were told the internet was the wrongest of things to come to the world. But with the internet, we've had good things, we've had bad things. So let's just go back to that, to say this whole conversation around changes to the world of work and all of that, and the pace and all of that, there will be good things, there will be bad things, there will be abuses. Yes, there are employees that would not work from home or would take work from home as a day off. We would rather be somewhere else chilling and all of that than doing work from home. But then the employer should also understand that it's not all homes that we can work from.
Okay.
Right? And that's why you're seeing that some employers are even saying, even if you're going to work from home, we want to provide you a work tool to work from home. Some organizations can't even accommodate that hybrid work. So take production outfits. You're not going to produce whatever it is you're producing. You're not going to do it from home. You have to come to work, right? And that's why I say it again. The change is one. The pace of the change is another. And I think the bigger issue is how employees and employers are even going to be able to adapt to this change, because nothing is cast in stone. I'm not going to use what Takeout Media is doing and go to FIRS and say do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they probably have not even created any document management system. So you still have to carry files. So they would not become Takeout Media in the next 5 years. But do we need structures like that? Do we need organizations like that? Yes. Do we need organizations like Takeout Media with the dynamism and the freedom? Yes. But you see, the issue is now, how are we adapting to the changes as quickly as we should? That's what I think is the conflict. There will be bad sides. Just like we had the growth in production of cars and all of that, where people got injured, people died while working and all of that. You're just going to have that now, where the truth is that we are supposedly in a more connected generation, but we are feeling more lonely, right? Because, and we are seeing it happen in our recent research, that more and more people are actually opting to return to work because they are bored at home. Their networking capabilities
are reduced.
Reduced. The vibe, the culture is been. You can't come into any organization and want to work from home from day one. You are going to lose some things. You can't manage your boss or your colleagues better if you can't read their body language and things like that. You can't onboard customers at a certain level without meeting with them. So eventually we will be, if all organizations will have to be as dynamic as required and find ways to come. So even I've seen a trend where if we say we have to come to the office twice a week and you can work from home 3 days a week, we now make those 2 days the days that everybody comes to the office. So then again, there's that vibe.
So more like a move towards a hybrid workplace.
That's the future.
Yeah, I think I would really agree with you really on that, because I think, like you said, it's dynamic.
Very.
And people are bringing their personalities to work.
Yeah.
So because people are bringing in their personalities, one must be also able to create an environment that can accommodate it to a certain extent while not losing what we already have, you know, in terms of not losing the main vision and the objective and the outputs.
Which is why trust will become the critical thing going forward.
But do you think there's something particular about the African space? Because I think also too, the one of the challenges I have as a business person is implementing certain things that work globally, because the typical work culture, if you've done projects in like the US or the UK, a typical worker in that environment operates differently from a worker in Nigeria. So you have certain issues that come up, and I'm sure you've come across a lot of this in your career.
Two things, like I was just saying, trust will become the greatest issue going forward. You are my employer, I'm your employee. You've given me work to do. Trust me that I'll do it. And then I should give you the opportunity to trust me with that work, right? So we are going to trade trust. You're working from home or anywhere. Trust me that I'll get it done. And I don't want to lose that going forward. Two, I think a critical conversation for the African talent is survival, right?
How do you mean?
Look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The first two are very basic. What countries or cultures outside of Africa has done is that government is involved in making those things available. So you are homeless, but you have a place to go sleep in the night. The average Nigerian, the average African has to hustle for those things, right? So the desperation to survive, to live, to eat, to feel safe, I believe is what is driving, almost unconsciously, the African talents to lie to the employer, to tell an employer, let me work from home 2 days a week, but it's those 2 days I'm actually on another organization working. But if there is trust and I'm not desperate for survival, I should be able to tell you as an employer that, you know what, I need to earn ₦1 million a month. You are able to pay me 500,000 naira a month. Please allow me go use my other 2 days to earn another 500,000 naira somewhere else. But trust that my work for you, for which you pay me 500,000, will not suffer.
That's very different.
I'll use myself as an example. And we said it as we're coming in. My employer knows I have a company.
Really?
I got the offer before I resumed. It was during COVID. I requested that we should see in person. And I want to see him before I resumed. He said, well, I said, I just need to see you. And I asked him 2 questions, and we gisted for like 2-3 hours. One, what is success to you on this role? If that I've succeeded on this role, what will it mean to you? He explained. And then 2, I told him straight up, I know you know. It's on my resume. People who recommended me to you know that I have a company. It's important to me that I say it to you in person before I resumed. This is a 60-plus-year-old person. He couldn't believe it. He said, I've never seen this level of openness in my life, in business. And for that reason, I know they told me, but that you insisted on telling me before you resume, my trust in you and respect for you just went up a notch. I've been there 3 years plus.
Really? I've
run this company 8 years.
Obviously, you're saying it on this podcast.
Everyone I've worked with in 8 years knows I have a company. And I'm committed to not... I've told everyone I'm building it for the long haul. Right? I've been open with it.
But the company doesn't necessarily compete with what your existing enterprise does.
See, I'm not hiding it.
Yeah.
I won't even take your job if I know it's going to compete. But the real issue here is that I'm showing you my life. I'm telling you, this is important to me.
So you are basically trading that trust that you just spoke about.
Yeah.
Let's dive a bit deeper. These topics are a bit high level. Yeah. So let's take the bit down, right? Basically, we've established that the economic environment of the nation, which is like the fourth factor, right, is going to affect the quality of the workplace. It's going to affect the quality of the worker. Yeah. It's going to affect the quality of, the work even that you get, right? So considering the fact that right now we saw a lot of Nigerians who started working remotely globally, and then we saw a lot of layoffs too. Yeah. Right, forcing us to come back home.
There's a jackpada.
Yeah, jackpada scenario currently going on right now. I even think in tech space that everybody's confused. Like, what's really going to happen? Yeah. What do we do next? Yeah. I like to think about it like, the way. So it's almost like you rejected your home, and then you went, and then they now rejected you, and then you came back home. Yeah. I want to say prodigal son. But. I think the fact is that the workplace has changed, right? And the work environment, the work environment has to evolve and be more dynamic. Yeah. And I think it also helps businesses to also transit and ensure that they be more efficient, and all that. But considering a business that is starting out today, let's say I want to build a startup, and I'm having... How should a young enterprise or a young entrepreneur be thinking about getting talent, especially because they can afford high talent?
Yeah. And I know this will lead to the conversations on stock options and all of that. But
let's
come back.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I don't know what you will say yet. Yeah.
So, first off, some businesses or that entrepreneurial spirit, we are not sure. We just have an idea. There's something in our heads, and we want to test it, right? So, to a very large extent, I tell people that in starting a business, structure is not what you should chase. Chase revenue first. Let that idea make someone give you money, right? And to a very large extent, at that stage, you can run by yourself. So I take our media. If I go back to the very first transaction or the early days, you could meet a client, they tell you their needs, you do the proposal, they accept, you give them the invoice, they pay, you sit, create the concept, you can execute by yourself. So to the startup entrepreneur, I'm saying be good at what you do. However, if you must grow and do more, this is where the issue comes in. And that's why I had to tie it to revenue. You will now get to a point where to generate revenue or to do more than you're doing, you need to be able to get work done while you are doing another work. And that places a demand on you to have someone else, or whatever capacity, to do maybe get the work up to 7% and gives it to you, you finish it up, right? Point is, to do more or to earn more, you can't be alone.
You can't be alone?
You can't.
Okay.
You can't. Because you just go back to those times. You remember when you literally forgot a client asked you to send a proposal.
Yeah.
You literally forgot to send invoice and you needed money. And then you call and kind of say, well, I asked you to send invoice 2 weeks ago. You literally forgot.
Yeah.
So there was need for people for you to earn more, to do more and subsequently earn more. So it places that demand on you, or for you to seek help to find a way to then transfer your know-how in terms of the capability to do the job or the system with which you get it done to someone else. So the person may not be doing everything digital that you're doing, but that person sorts out your schedule. That person runs the bank. You see, so you don't have to transfer that know-how to that person or create a system or a simple process that helps that person to do it, or you have no clue what that is, and you have to hire someone with the capability and pay that person a portion of what you earn as revenue. Because if you don't do that, you can't do more, and you can then crumble everything you've built. Because now you lose trust. You don't get referrals. You don't chase new businesses. You're just executing the ones that are coming. And that's where growth comes in. And that's the trouble of most entrepreneurs. When you want more, you deserve more, you can do more, there's more in the market, but you can't do it alone. I'm repeating. To earn more, you have to find someone else to do it. And to now do it consistently, where there is income coming in, there's briefs, and all that is running concurrently, you then see the need for a team, people doing different things, people able to represent you and deliver almost at your
team level.
So at that point, I tell every entrepreneur, when you are entering growth stage, the issue is no longer your technical capability to do that job. The issue is now your knowledge and ability to manage people to do the job. And that's where we crumble. Because all of a sudden, you are not talking brand strategy. You are talking people, understanding emotions, being able to see someone walk into an office and you can read body language and know something is wrong. You now begin to understand how paying salaries and paying at a certain date is important to someone, because he or she has a good plan and has to pay school fees and those sort of things. So you almost have to shift your focus away from the business to focus on the people doing the business, which is why I play with the word we're in the people business, because I doubt, with the number of people you have here, at a certain level, you are not the one creating the slides. You are not the one crafting the strategy. You are probably just allocating resources and moving people here and there and identifying new talents. All of a sudden, at growth stage, your work is really recruitment.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I've observed with a lot of entrepreneurs, right, from my own little experience too, is a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck at certain phases. And like some of them get stuck at the phase of serving the client themselves, that they never even push to building a team.
Yeah.
Some of them get stuck at when they build the team and they are still working with the team on the product. Yeah. They get stuck there too. and they don't
And they
start.
can't scale.
They can't scale, because then what now happens is, I and my partner, we usually say this way: is either you're working in the business or you're working on the business, right? Because an entrepreneur must be able to move from working in the business to working on the business.
Got it.
And something that I also observed is that a lot of times, someone said this way, that in life you either win as a team or you lose by default. That was a very powerful statement that came to me. And when I thought about that, that was one of the periods where we're trying to grow as a company.
Yeah.
And I mean, I started with 2 partners.
Don't underestimate it, because when you don't see further, the team can't go with you.
Yeah.
You can't go with you. And if you are not seeing, everybody can just come to a halt, right? And I just wanted to say that so that
so because I mean, now talking about even the growth stage, right? You already started saying what I was going to ask next, right? Which was the whole idea of equity, right? I already from the beginning, I already gave out equity because I had partners, right? I had no other thing to give out. Yeah. And really all I had was vision and equity.
For entrepreneurs these days, it's a case of, man, I need more money. The whole side hustle conversation is, my salary is not enough, I need to earn more to be able to cater for my needs. That's why I say we start by transacting, and it's okay. And by the way, there are people who buy and sell and are not building enterprises. Okay, I travel, I buy
more like traders.
Traders. There are more traders transacting. But if you are building an enterprise, or even if it's a vision or just desire, or you're just built that way, then conversations around equity, stock options, your compensation for staff, all those things will influence your decision, right? And by the way, and I should say this, the reason why it's becoming an abuse in the tech world is because, again, a chunk of them are building for exits.
Okay, so it's more like
so there's a race to cash out and or change lifestyle and da da da. It's to, as great as it is, it perhaps will limit this thing around building. And in this year, I've bragged debates when I'm with some of them. You tell me you raised or you took money from you took money to build. I am building with revenue generated. There are 2 different things.
2 different things, totally.
And I think media is not helping, where we are announcing or rating startups and we are using the metric of money raised, which is even money pledged. It's not as if you've gotten it. It's pledged.
It's money pledged, yeah.
And then people that are generating that same money by actual revenue, we are not rating them.
I told someone once, I said, I knew someone who raised like I think $5 or $6 million, and then I was telling my team member we are trying to build a product currently, and I told him, I said that don't bother yourself with that. I said he has raised $6 million.
Yeah, that's one. Or I'll be in programs management.
Programs management.
Yeah, and if I go way back,
I
used to do pencil work, so I had some creativity around me. So I love colors, I love drawing. I'll probably be in architecture.
Interesting. Yeah. So what roles do you see not going away in the future?
The application of human intelligence.
The application of human intelligence.
Ability to sell.
AI will not be able to take that away.
Nah, it will just enhance it. Ability to sell. Everybody's going to sell. Use AI to create anything, you have to sell it. You see that human connection, that this walk into a room, feel the vibe, connect, adapt. It's not AI.
What do you think what was one thing that you think makes a winning team? If it was one.
One thing. Stupidity. Stupidity. And by that I mean we are all stupid to continually learn. And we're all stupid to continually adapt and apply what we've learned. And at any height of success, we're all still stupid. Because we all really don't know.
Interesting.
We really don't know. We're all just caught up in what we think we know.
What's one as a HR?
So I would rather say hunger for knowledge.
Okay.
Stupidity.
I mean, this person says Steve Jobs calls it "stay hungry, stay foolish."
Yeah.
What organization right now in Nigeria? I know you might not want to advertise them. It's okay if you don't want to answer. But what organization right now in Nigeria do you think you really love?
GT Bank.
Really?
I hope people study that organization and the way they evolve and the way they. And I'll give you a few examples. Go back to GT Create accounts. GT Bank was perhaps one of the first banks that went to universities and made young people. It was trendy to have a GT Bank account as a young person in universities.
Yeah.
And if you check 10 years later, it's strange to have people around you say, give me a bank account, you don't have a GT account. That has been challenged recently. So that's one. Two, they were the first who saw the need to engage people outside of banking. They created the SME Market Hub. They created Indani TV. These were two strong anchors with which they engage people outside of core banking. So you had looked at Orange. That was why Orange has seeped into your subconscious so much. I'll give you two phenomena. When it became a trend not to paint the walls in your room same color, check the color that people were using to paint one wall. It was orange. And then you will come out, 2-3 banks, there's a queue in front of an ATM. It was GT Bank. And no one would think of checking if the other one was working, right? And then it's just the way they evolve and see what they've done with the fashion thingy. See what we've done with. They were also the first to really make it a thing to do end of year parties and bring international artists and create an opportunity for customers to interact with things they love outside of core banking. So they broke down your walls and you could not but have a bank account and do business with them. They were the first in that market that considered having a holding co structure, and it was the MD that went to speak at Social Media Week for the first time, and sold a future and what he was trying to do with the bank and all of those sort of things. So it's just how, as an organization, and then if you consider that founding fathers, the founding 40, not except from Shegun and a few people, none of them are in the same organization, and that organization is still existing today. Just look at their difference, look at the way they've run and grown over time. I love them. I love everything about them.
Oh, interesting. What's one book you would tell an entrepreneur to read right now?
Bold
by.
It's titled Bold. It's I don't know the.
Okay, why?
So it talks about how entrepreneurship, how you can make. So it talks about, one thing about the book is it shows how the world's biggest problems are biggest opportunities. It talks about exponential growth and how that there's also exponential technology. In a way, and that's what I'm reading for 2020. I'm reading it right now. It talks about how there is geometric growth, but there's exponential growth, and it shows how that it's in the times that we are in now that there's such opportunity to impact at a massive scale because there's such problem at massive scale.
I think, interestingly, one of my friends posted something on LinkedIn recently. It made me think. It said when he left Nigeria, he currently has a very successful business. His name is Eitayo Utiva.
I know.
Okay, so he said that when he left Nigeria in a particular year, running from Nigeria, that was the year that the likes of Money Point and the rest were starting. You understand?
And he can't compete with them right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's still successful, but they built massive success, right? And even someone told me that the top companies right now most started in 2008, 2009. And they say something about history is that we observe that no one learns from history, right?
Even though it repeats itself.
Even though it repeats itself. And okay, so also, what's one advice you would give to any entrepreneur right now in this Nigerian, with this dollar thing? And I mean, we saw what Paystack happened with Paystack recently. They dropped monies,
Drop the. There's a weight that comes from failing. There's a shame that comes with it, and it creates a weight. I would tell any entrepreneur to drop that weight in this time. So you can't be too exact with your plans. You can't be too sure. We don't know what we know. We're not sure what we know. We're sure we're still not sure. There'll be many changes. There'll be a few wrong calls. And so when you get some things wrong, be open enough to admit, be open to your team, and forgive yourself as quickly as you can, because a few of us are still going to fail at a few things. Don't let that weight cripple your intelligence, cripple your drive, and it gets worse when you've succeeded, because you now have something to lose, as it were. You lose your cred and all that, but failure is a part of the game.
So what's one lesson you've learned from success?
It should never satisfy you. Should never satisfy you. Success should just give you leverage for more. Success is leverage.
Success is leverage.
Yeah.
I think you've already told us your lesson from failure. So
Oh yeah. So.
because the advice you gave was about failure, so I mean, I don't need to ask you that.
No.
All right, thank you very much,
It's
GT. I
been
really
fun.
appreciate
Thanks,
it. It's been
for
excellent,
it's
and I can't wait for this episode to go out and for people to learn. So subscribe to the channel.
Yes,
This
please.
Venture Valley, where we curate information that will help entrepreneurs building from Africa on how to build global businesses and how to think about building with innovation, with knowledge from people who have gone ahead and people who are currently building. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
Look
you
forward to
so
seeing you.
much.